Wanna-
No
Okay.
report yet.
All right. Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. Uh, Sunday, January 25th at 11, little after 11 a.m. We'll get started and see where we are. Talked about a lot of stuff on yesterday. Uh, had some good discussions. And any questions on anything I was looking for? Because I jotted some stuff down, but any questions about anything? We picked up on talking about the womb, and creating space and what that meant and masculinity, femininity. Uh, we talked about the names. Everyone has named us, but we are the people that you might be from Kemet or Kushites, but that does not name who we are. That does not define who we are or talk about our character at all. Uh, and the thing I thought was extremely beneficial is when George brought up what was going on in Philadelphia about the removing artifacts, and Pastor explained that and the insight into that. Uh, as far as removing the messages of bondage and how freeing that would be to
Like get
us.
somebody come and put a glass up. Well,
So,
they think I was waiting for me, but put a thick curtain up there. So what they do is on out there, then climb. And put a heat out there, keep a thick curtain up there,
Um,
then put a heat out there. You know when the
hey,
wind blows.
would you mute 111, Vermeil?
okay.
Thank you.
But that's
Got a little bit of swing out there.
Huh?
Barbara, would you mute?
A little. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay.
so just trying to remember some of the highlights from yesterday. But anyone have anything about what we discussed yesterday? Because I thought what we finished on was extreme high energy and it felt great. And I think that really that energy kind of carried over into the night for me because I had a very, very good night. The stillness of the night to me was very magical, I thought. But anyway, anybody, questions or comments?
Ron, this is Dublin.
Good,
Grand Rising
good
family.
rising.
And I do give honor to the ancestors. I thought about something when we got off the broadcast, the family broadcast, and when Pastor said how we give source, I'll say, source, we try to name, give name to the force that created us. And he said we use names like creator, source, the one, all those names. And then when he said that people try to label us, give us a label or a name, and our name is always changing in the universe. To me, that said a lot to me, and I just would like a pastor, if you will, to elaborate on that a little more today, or just bring to our remembrance about we and source are one. I'm trying to ask the question on what I see, try to get the connection.
Okay.
I just felt that was very powerful yesterday.
Thank
Did
you.
that make sense, Pastor Jay?
Nope, but it resonates. I got you, Ellen.
Thank you.
Um, when I talked about the names that we use to talk about the origin of everything, the one who brought everything into existence, um, I was simply using different names or labels that we attach. And the reason I do believe that it is important for us to understand those labels is because that's how we communicate with each other and identify who we are talking about. Even though I know that the one who created everything that is beyond any label that we can attach to it. Now, as far as others naming us, excuse me, the names that or the labels that others applied to us were not meant for our good. Um, when the words like Kemet were applied to us, it was like the land of the black, but Kemet itself referred to the black soil in Hakupata, which is now called Egypt. However, it was also used to identify our skin tones. Kushite, same thing, skin tone. And when we talk about the Kushite kingdom or empire, we're talking about the empire of the Babylonians or the empire of those who are black. Now, we are the ones who labeled the land called Europe through an African woman whose name was Europa. So why is it that we were labeled? These labels that were given to us by Europeans were all negative, and they were used to dehumanize and to diminish our self-worth and our identity, who we really are, to diminish that. And when you think about that in relationship to other people who were brought into existence by us, especially in South America, we were called the gods of the sea. We were always referenced as being gods by everyone except Europeans. Now, that does not mean that they did not know who we are. It meant that they sought to diminish us in order to elevate themselves above us. And when they saw that that was not going to happen, that is when they began to label us with extremely negative names. And that's when they began to make every effort to take away from us our true identity, our true essence in the earth. And one of the examples of that is when Ptolemy, the Greek, sat on the throne in Egypt, when he ascended the throne through force in Egypt, the first thing that he tried to force the priesthood to do was to make him a god. Now, if he tried to force the priesthood to make him a god, then that meant that he knew who God is. And he knew that God was the inhabitants of Babylon. He knew that God was the first people in the earth. In other words, what he was saying was, make me like you. And that was the request was denied. Yet he continued to pursue it by killing priests until he got to a group of priests in Memphis who would acquiesce to what he said. And they simply said that he was a god, and they began to follow his lead in setting him up as a god, Ptolemy Soter, meaning Ptolemy the deliverer. So this is a bit more in depth than simply saying that the names, the labels that we apply to the creator of everything are the names that we use so we know who we're talking about. It also goes into who we are as Elohim. So just like um, the just like the creator of everything that is, we label it so we will know what it. So we will know we're talking about our creator or the creator of everything when we mention it. The precursor to all humans were treated the same way by Europeans. Yet everyone else knew that and accepted the reality that we are gods. And I hope that resonates. I hope that helped you, Evan. Is that the correct?
Sure, it resonates.
Okay.
And you said what was needed because you always build a foundation. So I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or any questions or comments about that? Okay. No questions, no
Hey,
comments?
Pastor,
Yes.
this is Charles.
Uh-huh.
Uh, excuse me. You used to say, back then that name means something, and name have to mean something because when God told Adam to name all the animals and whatever the name was, it was. So elaborate on that.
Okay. Um, let's begin with Adam. This entity that is called Adam, there are a lot of details about this creation story that involves this entity called Adam that have been manipulated. So when we talk about this entity called Adam being the one who named the animals, I don't see it that way anymore. And the reason I don't is because uh, Adam was considered the precursor for all of mankind, meaning that man was in charge of everything. Masculinity was in charge of everything, and everything came from masculinity, which is not true. So when we look at it from that perspective, what I see is that Elohim was given the opportunity to give character to all of the animals. When it talked about naming the animal, it was not naming the animal like or James or naming the baby when it's born. It's talking about the characteristics of the different animals. And when we talk about the idea of names meaning something, they do. Prior to English names, the names of the inhabitants or the children of Cabelon were directly connected to the earth itself as well as spirituality. The connections of the names are all actually were given because of what the parent or what the village chief or what the elders saw in that particular child, and those names were given as a guide to the child's life, and all of them were positive in nature, and and when we were forced to give up those names, that was the beginning of forcing us to forget that we are God, forcing us to forget our origins. And so those names that were forced upon us, I'm sorry, those names that were forced upon us were names that were given meanings later on. But at the time that that those names were given, they had no real meaning, no real connection to the earth or to us at all. I hope that helps. So,
It helps, but I'm glad that you brought that out more than what we read.
thank you. I'm going to expand on something in a few moments. But before I do that, let me see if there are any questions or comments.
Grand Rising, everyone. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought we talked about a long time ago that Adam was created as both masculine and feminine.
We did.
So in that regard, he would be like Elohim, wouldn't he?
In that regard, let me back up with that a moment, please. When we were talking about Adam being hermaphrodite, both masculine and feminine, at that time we were looking at Adam as being the man, a masculine entity. When in essence we understand that the entity from which all humans came, or the entity that brought everything into the earth, is feminine, as opposed to being a woman being taken from the rib of a man, or taken from the side of this masculine entity. So the whole story that we were taught, and that we taught ourselves about the creation in Adam in regards to that, is totally different than what the truth about it really is. So in order for us to, I do believe, in order for us to get a clearer meaning or understanding of it, we will have to revisit it, and revisit it through the eye as opposed to the eyes, and embrace it with the soul as opposed to embracing it with the intellectual mind, because of the way it was presented to us, and because of the way we presented it to each other and to others as we taught Sunday school, and as we taught in other settings. So I don't see this as we did before. However, I do see that both of them being that is being both sexes, meaning masculine and feminine, but the feminine being the overarching, or being the entity of birth, and everything else, as opposed to the way it's presented in the scriptures, that it came from came from masculinity. Does that resonate? Can you see what I'm attempting to say?
I have to process it, but
Okay.
the way I'm looking at it now is Adam was created as both, but they needed to separate to bring about the creation of other human beings.
The word Adam means the spirit that courses through your veins, through you. So Adam was never intended to be, even in the way they wrote it or the way they manipulated. Adam was not intended to be a separate being, but it was intended to be a being that is dominated by masculinity. When in reality it was not so. It was not a being that was dominated by masculinity. It is a being whose primary purpose was to birth life, and it was and when we became separate entities, is when we were placed in skin, and the reason we are physically different is to remind us of masculinity and femininity, and to bring birth to birth into this earth are other beings who are physical. But my major point here is this: the way that Adam is presented as the man, the masculine entity, being the dominator of everything. That came into existence 2,000 years ago from the religions that were propagated by the Europeans, primarily the Greeks and the Romans. And so, but prior to that, the figure of life or the entity of life was the cosmic mother, and that is another reason that the way we reference the earth is Mother Earth. And to this day, we do the same thing. Why? Because it gives birth to all the sustenance that's necessary to maintain physical life. Just like femininity, the feminine energy of spirituality is the source of all life in the spiritual realm. This is just a replication or a duplication of what exists in the spirit realm. And that is why was one of the reasons we talk about as above, so is below. But as far as Adam being the dominant figure, I try my best to refrain from even mentioning the word Adam because of the masculine connotations that it carries when we teach it, or when we mention it, or when we hear it. Because since we know that all of that is foreign to the beginning of understanding of spirituality.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Um, I guess my point is that it wasn't that way in the beginning. Adam wasn't created to be the dominant force.
Right.
And it occurs to me that the story of the serpent is probably there to sort of create this narrative of subservient women, I guess.
You're absolutely right. It is. Because that's what it does. Everything that goes wrong is because of femininity. It's because of the female. Everything that's made right is because of the male. And that's that aspect of creation written in that manner was for that purpose. And we can look at creation from different cultures. And the one culture that subjugates femininity is the culture that brought into existence the religions of Islam, Judaism, and all the Christianity, of course, and all the other isms. But if we look at the different spiritual beliefs or religious systems prior to interaction with Europeans, it is always the feminine that is the source of life and the one who wisdom flows from, always, because of the dog womb. So, and that's one of the things that it is imperative not only that we hold on to, but also it is imperative that we speak to it as often as possible, so that we can maintain the presence of it in the macro. That help, Audrey?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ron, you had something before
I'll save it. I'll wait.
one second, okay?
All right.
Since we brought that up, differentiating between the masculinity and femininity and the birth of humanity. Yesterday I mentioned the difference between fact and truth, and I may not have been as clear with that as I should have. When I talked about the difference between fact and truth, I think I said that fact is something that is brought into existence by the European mindset, and truth is what it is and what it always has been. And an example of that is this: Europeans thought the Earth was flat, and that was taught as a fact, and that fact remained so until our Europeans saw that the Earth was round as opposed to being flat. Now, the truth of the matter in reference to the Earth is this: our Babylonians knew that the Earth was round long before there was a European on the face of the Earth. However, the dominance, the brutality, the arrogance of the European sought to change that truth to something different, and that is why the things that we call fact, we need to be careful of them, and we need to see with a clear eye the origin of those so-called facts, because most of the facts do not coincide with truth at all, and and we must be discerners of truth and being able to separate the truth from facts if we are going to continue the journey of truth and open the gate of love and kindness to all of humanity, and transform the energy from a source that's being manipulated to the source that it was created to be in the first place. So if there are questions about that, or if you need more clarity with that, would you raise those questions now? Or if you have a statement or comment about it, would you present it, please?
I guess I just never thought about it that way. The difference between fact and truth. You can make that same uh, example using Christianity. Uh,
Yes,
the
yes,
things that are said about Christianity and where it takes you, but it's not, it may be factual, but it is not truth.
yes.
So, yeah, I see that very clearly.
Thank you. Facts are determined by humans. Truth is determined by God.
Yeah.
Well, you can say the same thing about the Bible itself.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Many people think it's factual,
Yes,
but they negate the truth of it.
right. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
If I want you to remember something, to do something today, and that is to speak to um, the the reclamation of the energy that has dominated the earth since the domination of Europeans. I want to speak to that a
Say
little
that
bit.
one more time, please.
I want to speak to the concept of the understanding of the energy that has been dominating the earth since the domination of Europeans.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments about anything?
Well, what I meant by you can say that about the Bible too is just what we were talking about. The it's considered a fact that Adam should dominate the earth,
Mm.
but that is not the truth of it. It's the cosmic mother and the cosmic mother's energy that dominates the earth.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it creates a very opposite effect.
And
which is,
Audrey, that's the whole concept of the Akashic consciousness as well.
yeah,
The Akashic consciousness is feminine.
yeah.
Well, that also, and this is a very subtle thing, but it's very powerful. When you're reading scripture, at least for me, and it says, "And God said," internally you hear a masculine voice, and God said this or that, or God spoke to this person. You don't hear femininity. You don't hear the cosmic mother. It's always masculine because that's what we've been taught. And that part of our religious or background is like I say, very subtle, but it's there and it has a very powerful meaning.
You're right. You remember we talked about recently, as a matter of fact, we talked about when we think about ancestors, it's usually in a feminine sense. It feels feminine. You remember that? I was talking about that. Um, I do believe that it is feminine. I do.
Yeah.
I believe the reason we experience the femininity of ancestry is because ancestry is feminine. And the reason I make that statement is because we are not looking at physical bodies of a woman or a physical body of a man in contrast. What we are experiencing when we talk about our ancestors is a source of wisdom. And all wisdom is feminine. So it doesn't matter whether it's coming from Reverend Hawkins to me or Reverend Hawkins to anyone for that matter. What matters is that the essence of Reverend Hawkins is feminine in terms of the wisdom that I received from him. So when we talk about ancestry, we're talking about ancestral guidance, are we not? And the ancestral guidance that we are speaking of is the wisdom that we receive from the ancestors, and that is feminine energy. And when I or one of us speak to that wisdom, it becomes a seed to you. And when you grasp that seed and birth it, that is femininity. You're birthing something. You're birthing that truth is a seed that sprouts. Ron says quite frequently that when we are teaching, he hears something and his mind starts going in different directions, thinking about that. Because it pulls you in different directions, you see more to it. That means that you are birthing something at that moment. Can you see that?
Yes.
So that's why I do believe that it is indeed feminine. We have to make sure that we are not timid about saying what the truth is. The timidity of which I speak is you're always talking about femininity and not masculinity. Well, the reason we are talking about femininity is because truth needs a rebirth in the earth. And if we're timid about embracing, totally embracing the energy of femininity, then we are timid about bringing truth to the earth. And with that, and we can no longer be timid, or we can no longer be intimidated about what we are saying, simply because there are those who disagree with what we are saying, and they their desire is not so much to embrace it as it is to challenge it. And we are not in a setting where we are engaged in debate. We are engaged in presenting truth to humanity. The truth is not up for debate. It either resonates or it doesn't. And if it resonates and you don't understand it, raising questions about it is not a debate. Um, so there is a difference between raising legitimate questions about things and seeking to debate those things. And I also understand, along with most of us, if not all of us, that much of what um, we say it spiritually. We're speaking about spirituality, but there are times when we can only make spirituality or truth clear by using material examples of what we are talking about, because we are in the process of thinking, of transforming our minds to be one with our soul, so that our processing will not be from an academic standpoint, but will be from a spiritual standpoint, meaning that we are processing to hear from the Akashic consciousness. We are processing to be able to explain based upon Akashic consciousness, based upon the consciousness that has always existed and always will exist, as opposed to processing based on philosophy and ideologies, um, because philosophies and ideologies actually change, and most of the philosophy that we are familiar with are the philosophies that were that were written by Europeans, and most of the European philosophers are one-sided in that you hear things like might makes right, that people that all babies, Thomas Hobbes, all babies are born with a blank slate. Their minds are blank. It's like clay, and you put the impressions in their environment is what make them who they are. Those kinds of things that we hear. Then when we look at revolutionary philosophy, like from Frantz Fanon, Frantz Fanon was one of the most dangerous African philosophers on the face of the earth. Still is, his words are, especially in his book, The Wretched of the Earth, when he talked about the only way to free ourselves is to free ourselves with violence, because we were enslaved with violence. Of course, it's much more in depth than that, but these are simply examples of some philosophies, so that we can see clearly that the truth that we put into the macro is not based on philosophies, and we don't process based on these philosophies. We process based upon the wisdom of the Akashic consciousness, and that's where we are. That's where we are currently, and that's where we should always be. We have when we begin to understand, truly understand, to the extent that we don't have to think about it, that we are God. It is at that point that we are able to bring things into existence by virtue of speech. And speech is not necessarily verbalization of something when we're talking about spiritually. Speech is also thought when we are speaking spiritually. The things that we say in our minds, if we dwell on them, we become them. If we dwell on them, we bring them into existence. So if we are able to create a world that we create the world that we live in and the hells that we get from that world that we created, then we are also able to create a world of peace, a world of harmony, a world of balance. And all of this is done by the thoughts that we dwell on. So dwelling on a desire for peace brings that into existence. I was speaking with Ron earlier, and we was talking about the weekend, how these storms come through on the weekend in different places. And but then when I said to him that, remember, we desired for storms to come on the weekend because people had to work, and our desire was for as few people as possible to be on the roads in order to protect them. It was the churches who wanted you to come to church no matter what, because God could protect you. That in itself is not a truth, it's a fact. And we at the places where I covered people were not like that, because my words were, I don't need to announce to you that we are not going to assemble. If ice falls or if it snows, you just know, stay at home, because I'm not coming and I don't expect you to come. So what am I saying? The bottom line of what I'm saying is that even before we knew what we were doing or understood who we are with the clarity we have now, we were desiring that this type of weather would present on weekend. And here we are. The overwhelming majority of the time that it does present is on the weekend, especially in the Southeast, especially in the Southeast. And we notice also with the hurricane thing, our desires about it also our desires were met about the hurricanes as well. So I guess what I'm getting at is for us to see the history that we've had when we did not know who we are. And now that we do know who we are, our desires are for humanity. It is my the knowledge that I have now about this is I don't have to be concerned with me personally, with me and mine personally. My concern is for peace and harmony with humanity. And the peace and harmony with the humanity that I desire will automatically be inclusive of those of my household as well. But to delineate between other people in my household is not something that I do. I make every effort to be inclusive of all of humanity. And right now, we are witnesses to a program of destruction that is being conducted by the government of this country, and that program of destruction is designed to destroy the continuity between or to diminish even more. Rather, I should say it that way, to diminish even more so the connections between different races, is to bring more separation into existence so that white males can maintain their status, their control of the earth. And in that, but what is actually happening is that this philosophy of destruction and white male dominance is self-destructing, and they don't even see it. They don't even understand it. And one of the things that that is the precursor for this was the idea that money was losing its power. The currency of Europe as well as America is losing its power. And when you give thought to it, it was the Europeans who changed what is valuable in the earth. What am I saying? What actually happened is the European nations printed paper and took that paper and forced it on Acabelonians and took the gold from the Acabelon and brought it here. So the only thing that the inhabitants of Acabelon received was paper, while the true value of minerals like gold and silver were taken, or uranium, etc., were taken from that and brought to European countries. And the gold, like we talk about Fort Knox and the gold at Fort Knox, but keep in mind that the gold at Fort Knox is not just America's gold. The gold at Fort Knox also belonged to nations like Germany, European nations, who stored it there. So the long term, what the long term desire was to take the gold, take the minerals, and be able to control the continent with paper money, which means that it has no value whatsoever, only the value of what a gun puts to it and maintains. So now here we are in a battle for identity, a battle for divinity, to maintain our divinity. And what we have done is reclaimed the energy that was stolen from Hakupata and utilized in Washington from the way that it was set up. The city was designed. But what we have not done as a unit, I've done it individually, but what we have not done as a unit is to look at the other capitals around the world, the European capitals around the world, but also the places like China, whose mindset is European as well, and places like Nigeria, whose leadership, their mindset is also European. So what we have not done is reclaimed and repurposed that energy that is still being utilized for the destruction of humanity. And what I'm saying now is that at this moment, it is important that we reclaim that we reclaim this energy, this power, so that we can repurpose it for the benefit of humanity, as opposed to allowing it to have a continued use for the manipulation and control of especially African people of Caribbean descent. So what I'm saying to us right now is our desire is to repurpose all of that energy so that the power that has been usurped and used against us can be repurposed for the whole of humanity. No one has the right to transpose the power of divinity into a power that's selfish. No one has the right to utilize energy for the purpose of destruction, the destruction of humanity and the earth. It is imperative that we recognize that. It is also imperative that we understand that the one who created everything that is, the womb out of which we came, is not going to do anything about the energy that is being utilized for the destruction of humanity as well as this earth. It is incumbent upon those who were brought into this earth as divine beings to repurpose that energy. We abdicated our responsibility of being the guardians of that energy when we became submissive to the brutality of the Europeans. And now here we are, recognizing who we are and recognizing the times in which we live. So all of the energy in this earth is under the authority of the divine beings in this earth. And the divinity of the beings in this earth has an obligation to embrace the energy that has been usurped from us, so that we can rapidly bring to an end the enslavement of all humans in this earth. We are the guardians of this energy, and we are the guardians of this earth. We are the ones who are instructed to dominate this earth, not dominate in a violent, brutal way, but the domination of this earth through righteousness, through love and kindness, and through peace, and other mechanisms or other energies that are beneficial to humanity. It is on our shoulders to make sure that humanity is not only living according to the principles of Ma'at, but also being taken care of, meaning that the physical life in this earth is under the guardianship also of the divine entities in this earth who were brought here for that express purpose. These humans are the entities that came into existence from our seed, from our womb. It is up to us to bring them into a place that is more conducive to life than where they are now. We have seen and are seeing the results of not being able to repurpose that energy. Now, the repurposing of that energy does not come without a battle. Excuse me. The battle that we have in repurposing this energy is underway right now. It has not gotten underway in Europe and China, in places where European mindsets are dominant, because we have not up to now repurposed that energy. We must do that, make that our goal right now. And in doing so, what we have seen is the things that we have been shown before they happen. We have talked about how things were going to get worse. We've talked about how white people had to suffer in order for them to see or to experience what we have been put through, so that they themselves, having that experience, will be fighting for change as well. And what have we seen? We have seen Hispanics who were killed by ICE, and there was a mention of it, and that was the end of it. When a European woman, a white woman, was killed, that is the mantra that keeps them meaning those who are in the streets protesting now. And with the death of this male yesterday, this intensifies what's happening in the streets. Now, the extent to which it is going, I do believe, I know that it's going to get worse, meaning that there are going to be more battles and more skirmishes, more death in the street. But it will not be the death of us. It will be Europeans fighting Europeans, because maleness wants to maintain, white males desire to maintain their control over the world. And in doing so, they have exposed how little they care about their own people. They have exposed how little they care about each other. And in doing so, those who have been shown that they have been duped, they have been manipulated into believing that they truly do have privilege. They now are rebelling against the source of their privilege. And the little privilege that they still have, they are using it to rebel against their privilege. And we stay out of that. Yet at the same time, we continue to repurpose all of the energy in the earth, period. So that the energy in the earth will be divine energy, will be divine energy that is molding a mindset in the earth that is in concert with the mindset of a cable line. Are there any questions or comments about that?
Ashe.
Pastor Richard, this is
Sure.
Angela.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to say, yesterday I was at work and I was thinking, I was like, why the storms? When I was talking to the ancestors, why the storms come on the weekend? I said it always is on the weekend, and then you answer the question. But some jobs, like I was expected to go in to work today, and I called in and told them I wasn't coming, but they want to threaten people with write-ups if you don't come in. But, I made that choice, which was best for me, because something was to happen to me on that road, they'll easily replace me just like that. But that's all I wanted to say.
Yes, I'll speak to that, because we have been conditioned to be afraid of losing a job over our lives. We have been conditioned to believe that if we don't go to work, we're going to lose that job. However, the question becomes, what happens if you have an accident and your car is total loss? You can't get to work. What happens if you have an accident, your body's broken up, and you can't get to work? You'll lose your job anyway. What happens if you're killed? You're going to lose you're not going to have the job anyway. There are things that we have to make decisions about that affects us individually as well as collectively. And that is not a decision that I personally would make for someone, but I will speak to it as I have just spoken to it, and say to everyone, these are the choices that you have. I was talking to Lolo, one of my friends, earlier in the week, and he was like, "Man, I was looking at that story where there's 100 vehicles involved in the accident. Where were the people going? You can't even see on the highways, and all of these trucks are still out there instead of the truck stop." That is because people are being threatened. If you don't keep moving, you're going to lose your job. Now, some of those people in that accident were killed. Some of them were injured seriously. So those who were killed, the families don't have them anymore. The trucks are going to be replaced or fixed. The cargo on those trucks is going to be sold to discount stores, because the insurance is going to pay for the cargo. But the person who was manning that truck is dead or injured. So that speaks volumes, and that's something we speak to now, because the cargo and the truck the money coming from that is not more important than the person who is manning that vehicle. It is our desire that the mindset of those who feel as though they are mandated to work under these conditions will begin to say no. And with enough of them saying no, nothing will be done. Why? Because the number of people who says no will reduce the desire for those who own this property to force to terminate them, because they will not be able to find people that quickly to replace them. So that's how I see those things. Being God, we have obligation to be the voice, the voice of reason for humanity. We have obligation to be the mitigator, so that people will see that life itself is more important than the things that we use to make life more comforting. So Angela, I appreciate you having brought that up. But again, those are decisions that you as individuals have to make on your own. That's not a decision for me or for anyone else to make on your behalf. Looking again at who we are, we remind ourselves that we are the determining factors when it comes to bringing peace and harmony and balance into this earth. And it doesn't come by capitulating to those things that we know are wrong. It doesn't come by capitulating to Christianity, Islam, Judaism, or any of the other religions. It comes by holding to the truth. It comes by holding to returning actually to understanding of what our identity means. It comes as a result of desiring remembrance from beginning. And when we talk about our remembrance from beginning, what we are actually talking about is the remembrance that we receive from the Akashic consciousness. And that happens quite frequently. If you are looking for something deep from the Akashic consciousness, you're looking for the wrong thing. There are things that are really simple that we're reminded of through the Akashic consciousness. Like yesterday when we talked about we need to refrain from saying white supremacy or white superiority, because what we're actually doing is giving life to them being superior. That's a result of the Akashic consciousness giving insight so that we can see what we are giving life to. So I don't know whether I said this yesterday or not, but I am saying it now. When it comes to awareness of Akashic consciousness, you don't have to sit back and say, I'm waiting on the Akashic consciousness, I'm waiting on the ancestors. No, live the life and have the desire to live the life of the divine. And living the life and desiring to live the life of the divine puts you in that space where you are more attuned to those memories of the divine. Because Akashic consciousness is nothing more than the divine memory, divine wisdom, divine understandings that were brought into existence for the express purpose of balancing the earth and having our offspring, having the humans who are our offspring, to embrace the mind of Ma'at, while while the principles of Ma'at rather, while the consciousness of our creation is become the guiding force that maintains everything in the earth that needs to be maintained, as well as cleansing the earth, not only from a damnable mindset, but also cleansing the earth from the filth in the oceans to the poison that's in the soil, and cleansing it by desire. If we are told that we are to dominate, then that means that we also have the authority to cleanse the air, the soil, the water. We have the authority to do that. So when the scripture talks about Moses tapping the rock and making the water sweet, it means that taking the poison out of it. It is saying that when you are a deliverer, when you realize who you are able to deliver the people from anything that's poisonous to them. And it's not just the spiritual poison, it's also the physical poison as well. We have the obligation to do that, but we cannot do it if we don't embrace it. We must embrace the essence of our being. We must embrace that. And in doing so, we make sure that anything that is adverse to humanity is dispensed with, is transformed. It never has that adverse effect that it's designed to have. Questions or comments?
Pastor, I have a question.
Yes.
While you were speaking, I thought about Isaiah 9:6, where it says, and the government shall be on his shoulder. And I don't know if his needs to be there, but are we, and my question to you is, and the family, are we the spiritual government for mankind? Because we're changing the narrative, we're changing the old ways of things, and that was my question.
That scripture in Isaiah, and the government shall be on his shoulders. If I remember that scripture correctly, that scripture is talking about the government is we're carrying the weight of the government. And that's what we are doing right now. We're carrying the weight of this government. And in doing so, we are changing it. We are transforming it. And when it comes to the idea of being the government for the world, for mankind, we are that. However, we are the keepers of the principles of divinity in the earth, loving kindness. Yeah, we are that, but we are not a government that was brought into existence, or with the ideology of what government means to us right now. It's totally different than what we right now. And I know that was not the question that you raised, but I do want to include that in my response to your question about the government being on our shoulders. It's important that we understand this concept of government, because when we understand this concept of government, we will see that the idea of what we are told a government is has never existed, ever existed. We talk about this government in this country. The government in this country is totally different than what we are told it is. We are told that this is a democracy, non-existent. This is never existed. We are told that we vote to put people in office. We don't. We vote to make a choice of the people that has been presented to us to be put in office. If we were truly making choices about people who are put in office, then we would have seen changes long ago. we have not seen any changes other than the increased domination and control of the super rich. That's all. That's all that we've seen. The government has never done anything for us. It has done everything to keep the Hispanic separated from the African, and the African separated from the European separated from the Chinese, etc., on down the line. It has never, ever sought to bring people together. And the group of people who has been castigated the most are those who are descendants of Akebelon. We are the most hated people on this earth because of fear. Not fear that we're going to kill them, no, because that's not our nature, but fear of who we are. Let me just put it this way. The European mindset has made a decision, and the decision that the European mindset has made is the same desire that Ptolemy had when he forcibly mounted the throne in Hakupata. The desire is to replace God. The desire is to replace us, to milk us from all that it can get, and at the same time, do everything it can to be God itself and to convince us that it is our God and we are to serve it. That is the mindset of the European, which means that the European knows who God is in this earth. Otherwise, it would not be seeking to replace it. It would not seek to milk it for all its worth. It would not be skinning black bodies and doing the research on melanin and trying to figure out how to retrieve melanin from the skin as well as the organs in order for them to use it for their purposes. They know that this is the substance of the gods. They know that this is the sustainer of life, period. And if you can control and manipulate life, then you are God. And that's the purpose. That's what they are making every effort to do. And the divisions that have been created have been done so no one pays attention to what's at hand. And saying what I am saying sounds like something that would be called a conspiracy theory. But there are instances where people who have died in hospitals, their bodies not reclaimed, or died in car accidents, who are of Akebelon descent, whose bodies have been found skint. All the skin has been removed from the body as well as the organs, and the experiments are being done with the melanin in the body as well as in the organs. This is just as real as we are in this earth in physical form, and we are the ones who are in the gap. We have already repaired the breach so that we can bring an end to this. This whole thing about AI is a desire to replace the presence of occultic consciousness. AI is designed to be able to manipulate how we think, what we think, and what we believe. So when we talk about the divinity of the African and the enmity that's between the European mindset and the African or the Cabelonian mindset, we are talking about the difference between a group of people with a mindset to overthrow God, to take the throne of God and to make it their own. When the scripture talks about the messengers who were cast out of quote unquote heaven in Ezekiel, what that message is telling us is that there are those with a false message who are railing against everything that is truth. And we are to cast that out, meaning that we are to free humanity from that mindset, so that humanity will not become subject to that mindset. Well, humanity did become subject to that mindset, and now here we are purging humanity off that mindset. And in doing so, we are reaffirming the divinity that we are. And we are saying, we are not here to destroy you. You came from our womb, our seed. We are here to instruct you. We are here to change your mindset, to alter the course of life that you have been traveling. We are here to lay before you a pathway of unity, a pathway of peace. We are here to show you that living according to divine principles is more beneficial than being greedy and murdering people to take what you want. We are here to bring all of our offspring to a place of unity, without regard to skin tone, without regard to how brutal you can be. We are here not only to forgive you for all that you have done, all the havoc that you have created in this earth. We are also here to show you that loving kindness is much stronger than brute force. We are here to show you that the mindset that we have is a mindset that is strengthening, a mindset that creates cohesiveness between you and the other humans who are in this earth. That these are the principles, these are the desires that are innate to us. We have gone through all of the things that have been presented to us in order for us to free ourselves from enslavement and from the results of enslavement, without understanding that the only bondage that we have ever been in is the bondage of our minds. And we are still in that bondage until we realize who we are. We have come to grips with the understanding that freedom comes when God is God. Freedom comes when the divine nature is not only exposed, not only remembered, but also shared with those who have the divine nature, but also with those who need to be delivered from their mindsets. That's who we are. This is our purpose. This is our journey in this earth. And so when we look at what I'm talking about, and when we look at what's happening in Minneapolis, this is not what I'm talking about. That is the result of what I'm talking about. That is the result of brutality. That is the result of desiring to be God. I'm going to force you to submit to me. I'm going to force you to worship me. I'm going to force you to follow my dictates. That has always been the desire and the mantra of the European mindset. And we are now in our stage of remembrance, understanding that in order to transform that, it has to be done through spirituality. It will never be done through brutality. That is not the nature of God. Questions or comments?
Wow. You said a lot. And I guess I'm hearing you say that since the time of the Ptolemies, the Ptolemy kings in Egypt, they recognized who we were, and they wanted to usurp that energy. And since that time, there has been a conspiracy to keep us from knowing who we really are, to enslave us, to create a certain narrative that disparages us.
Yes.
And from then all the way up to now, that's been the truth of it.
Yes.
Them trying to usurp that energy, divinity, whatever you want to call it. And yes, I agree. When you say that now they're trying to usurp the wisdom of the Akashic consciousness by developing AI. But I feel like all that stuff, just like we are now remembering, waking up and remembering who we are, I feel like what they're trying to do with AI is going to backfire on them, because basically AI is helping other people wake up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot. It's kind of heavy, but it is also uplifting to realize, that we are gods in the earth. And now we need to start acting like it.
Absolutely. And the idea of it backfiring, Audrey, the reason it does is because of our remembrance. It actually puts them in a position to show us all of the shortcomings that has given them the idea that they could overcome God. We see the methods that they have used. We have lived in Egypt as Moses. We have grown up in Egypt, meaning that we have grown up, we have been educated in tight spots, tight places. And that doesn't mean just going to school. It also means just functioning in this society. We have learned the ways of Pharaoh. And having learned the ways of Pharaoh, our remembrance carries us to a place called the Jordan. And the Jordan does not bathe us, neither does it baptize us. The Jordan actually is a pathway that shows us who we truly are. And having gone through the Jordan and having been separated from them, even in the midst of them, having been in this wilderness for as many years as we have, and having drawn out of us all of the things that we thought were true, the Christian aspects of our lives, the Islamic aspects of our lives, when we recognized the bondage of Christianity, what did? We start looking at Islam. We must understand that we have been shown their ways. Now we are in the land of promise. And being in the land of promise does not mean that we don't have giants to defeat. The giants that we have to defeat are in us. It is the belief systems that have been ingrained in us while we are in this wilderness, still purging ourselves of these these systems that has been ingrained in us. And the day has come that it's time for us to say to our household, to those of a Cabelon, choose you this day who you are going to serve. Are you going to be submissive to who you were created to be, or are you going to continue to submit to the barbaric attitude and mindset of those who have sought to destroy the world and become gods by destroying you? It is your choice to make this day. And when this day does not mean this day Sunday, it means the day in your life when you get tired of being tired, and when you desire to truly seek the more that is available to you, when you desire to see the depth of your heart, who you are, when you get to the place where you are not ashamed of your origin, when you get to the place where you see the beauty in your being. We were told that black is ugly, that be ashamed of your black skin. Why were we told that? Because they knew that if we were ashamed of the melanin in our skins, if we were ashamed of being melanated people, we would not activate the wisdom that melanin brings to us. Melanin is a technology, and the technology of melanin keeps us intertwined with Akashic consciousness and the divinity of our nature. If we are ashamed of it, it's still there. The Akashic awareness is there. The divinity is there, but we don't activate it because we're ashamed of it, so we run away from it. And what we are doing is making an effort to be like those who have presented themselves as our God. And there are those who say that's not true. Then why is Jesus painted white? And why is the message in the Bible are geared toward men being in charge of everything and dominating women to the extent that females feel subjugated because they are being subjugated? When we realize who we are, that is when we begin to see out of the womb of the cosmic mother came everything that is. And from the womb of the cosmic mother birthed melanated children for the express purpose of being physical gods that will birth the rest of humanity in this earth. When we come to that memory and embrace that beyond anything else, it is then that we began to experience a righteousness in this earth that has not prevailed since the beginning. That's who we are, and that's who we must remain being. The things around us are just that. They are things. The importance of the humans that we brought into this earth is far beyond the importance of the things that we have brought into this earth. The children that came from the womb of the divine, these children must be brought to a understanding of their origin. So when they understand their origin, it must be brought to their memory. When they understand that and begin to embrace their origin and seek their origin for guidance and direction as they are doing now. Where are the black people? Why are they not out here with us? It's because you are out there, but that's not the route for change. It's the route for you to open your eyes. It's the route for you to understand that you have been beaten down all your life without knowing it. It's an opportunity for all of you who have railed against the melanated people to understand that that is the source of your deliverance. And when you understand that you're not just calling for black people, you are calling for the melanated source of your deliverance to bring deliverance to you. When you truly embrace that, that is when you will begin to experience deliverance. That is when the manifested righteousness will prevail in this earth. And that is our responsibility to maintain the awareness that we have and to stay where we are. But at the same time, our emotional experiences are touching because of our seeing people murdered and beaten for no reason other than for someone who seeks to dominate as God, who has nothing divine in their mentality other than a desire to be God, and that in itself is not divine. It seeks to do what we are capable of doing, and we are the ones who are still sluggish when it comes to embracing our capabilities. The speech that we have, the desires that we have, they are divine. However, if we, as you said earlier, Audrey, don't live like God, then we won't be God in this earth. We will still be searching for something that we already are. I'm done. Questions or comments? I got to plug my computer up. Okay, but I can hear you. So if there are questions or comments, please raise them.
I have a question. I want to take you back to something you said about the energy, and changing the energy will not be easy. I want to talk about that a little bit. Uh, if you don't mind, I'd like to read a verse for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Uh, this is a verse that's always kind of confused me, but I think it's related to what you said, and I want to see what your thoughts on it are. I'm in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. Genesis 1 and 28. It says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Uh, the part that stuck out to me is subdue it, or dominate it, because that's not talking. And again, to kind of set this up, I know we've talked about uh Genesis and the creation story, and a lot of this is being manipulated and whatever. So the part of this that really sticks out to me is subduing it, because it sounds like it's talking about a violent thing, and going out and being just dominating in a physical way. But going back to what you said, uh, changing the energy would not be an easy thing. And I'm wondering if this is related to it. So doing it is not necessarily going out and fighting a battle per se for it. It is recognizing that what you're going up against is something that is strong, and it's going to take your total uh spiritual insight or wisdom, whatever, to kind of see who you are, and that would be the battle with this. So because when it talks about the birds and all the things that move, this is talking about thought. This is talking about something more than what we have taken it to mean. But this is it's just a thought that came in my mind when you said that, because I'm want to understand uh the part about it won't be easy so much, and I just thought it related to this.
The difficulty is not with the ones with the mindset. That's not the problem at all. The difficulty that is with us being who we were created to be. That's what makes it hard. It's not too hard for us to do, but it's difficult because of the necessity in us being purged from who we were told we were. And when I talk about being purged, I don't mean totally forgetting it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is we are still, it's an ebb and flow. Maybe not as often as it once was, but there's still an ebb and flow between the mindset that we were given, between the identity that we were told we are, and who we are for real. There's an ebb and flow there. So the difficulty is in being who we were created to be with the memory of what we were told we were. To change this earth environment is easy. The difficulty is within us. Can you see that?
Okay.
That's what the difficulty is. When I sit and I use the candle not because of the candle being anything other than a focal point, and helps me to pinpoint energy. So energy, space, the space of the energy, whatever. But anyway, when I do that, I'm not interfered with or inundated with the thoughts of this world or the thoughts of the European mindset. Why am I not? Because when those thoughts come, I allow them to flow through. I do not focus on them. I do not make an effort to get rid of them. I just focus on that candle. And they'll flow through. I refocus myself on that candle, at the flame of that candle. And that is a method of me being able to focus on who I am. And I sit there and I hear nothing. And sometimes I experience absolutely nothing. Yet, when a question comes, or when we sit down to do what we are doing, everything that has been brought to my memory comes out. But it doesn't come out with me having to write it, make notes or bullet points on a piece of paper. It comes out. Why does it do that? Because when I'm speaking as I am now, I'm not speaking from a perspective of the academia. I'm speaking totally from the understanding of spirituality. And that is not just James Richards who does that. When we teach, that's what all of us are doing. That same energy that we are, that same energy that we are projecting when we are teaching, is the same energy that we are to live with every single day. Does that resonate?
Yes.
So the difficulty is with us embracing the totality of who we are.
Okay.
That's what the difficulty is. Because guess what? There's absolutely nothing too hard for God. But there is no way that those who present themselves as God can accomplish anything they want to unless we allow them to. And we have allowed this for far too long. Any other questions or comments?
Grand Rising. So, Pastor, on the heels of what Ron was asking, the scripture that speaks to the kingdom of God advancing and the balance take it by force. I never understood that scripture, but based on what we're hearing today, could you open that scripture up a little more, what the meaning is behind that? Because we are not violent.
We are spiritually violent. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They are spiritual. And the spiritual weapons that we have is truth. And when we speak truth, it creates anger inside of those, in the mindset of those who want to maintain what they have created or what they have brought into existence. This government, the idea of greed, the idea of being superior to everyone else in this earth, especially the African. So what we see as a result of the removal of the energy from them and transposing it, the result of that is what you see in Minneapolis. So our violence is not the violence of that European mindset. See, when there is a thing called physical violence and a thing called spiritual violence. They are both violent, but on different levels. The violence that we institute spiritually does not destroy anyone or anything. It brings life to everyone and everything. The violence that we are seeing with our eyes is a violence that is destructive to earth, to everything that exists in the earth. Does that resonate, Kathy?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just inject something?
Sure.
I was just looking at the etymology of subdue, going back to what Ron was talking about. And it has two parts. Sub means under, but the verb for the other part, ducer, means to lead. So could it mean then that we should take things under our influence and lead them in the way that they should lead them to a new mindset, lead them to a new
That's what we do.
recognition of who they are, that sort of thing.
Yes, lead them to that recognition. See, the idea of us being who we are means that we lead them to a place of understanding, of embracing the wisdom of peace, of harmony, the wisdom of understanding that a life of peace is much easier than a life of violence.
So in that regard, it doesn't mean to take over or take control. It means to lead.
Government takes control. Spirituality leads. Now, when we look at the travels of Mansa Musa, he did not lead. He did not control anything or anybody. Didn't even seek to control. But he did lead. And there's a big difference between control and leadership. Huge difference. There are pastors who I knew and know who seek to control their people, but then there are pastors who lead their people. And in leading their people, they respect not only their individuality, but they also respect the unicity of all of them. And they also lead in a manner that shows respect for those who has no confidence in themselves, as well as those who have too much confidence in themselves, and everything in between, and levels the playing field for everyone, regardless of where you are on this this scale that has been made up by men. It doesn't matter. I remember this lady coming to our Monday night class, and one of the reasons she did not want to come in the beginning was because she said that she could not read that well, and she didn't speak that well. And I said to her, it doesn't matter if you don't read at all. It doesn't matter. It does not matter whether you are able to speak clearly or what we call properly. It doesn't matter. What matters is you expressing yourself. And if anyone chooses to look down upon you or say something disparaging to you about that, they got to leave my class. They will not be in this class. Why? Because these parameters that have been set for acceptance are all wrong. And that's what leadership does. Leadership does not deal with people based upon who is more acceptable than someone else. People are people, even though they express themselves differently. That's what leadership does. But control does not do that. Control takes the influential people in that gathering and bring those influential people under their control so that they can control everyone else through those influential people. Can you see that? That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yes, I think
Excuse me.
Christianity takes subdue in terms of its negative connotation, control,
Yes,
take over.
that's the
Uh,
mindset.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that. It means to basically take under your wing and to lead.
The European mindset is antithetical to everything of the African mindset. Therefore, Christianity is antithetical to spirituality. Does that resonate?
Yes.
Thank you. Questions, comments? I want to leave you with this if you don't have any questions or comments. This is what I want to leave you with. We have reconciled with who we were, who we were told we were, and who we really are. We have reached a state of reconciliation with that. And we have embraced who we really are. The divine nature of our being is who we are. And because of that, we recognize the obligation that we have to humanity. Our being afraid of what may happen to us, our looking at what's taking place in Minneapolis and other places, looking at that, the way we look at it, being fearful or wanting it to end, we must understand that these things are necessary. The lady who was shot, the man who was shot, these people are martyrs for those white people who thought that their privilege was going to protect them from any type of violence whatsoever. We have taken the authority that has been given to us. We have taken the authority to reclaim all of the energy that has been used in a adversarial way against humanity. And that energy that we have reclaimed is the energy that we have transformed into divine energy. Why? Because anything that flows through us is divine if we embrace the reality that we are divinity. We have up until now allowed principles to flow through our minds, a mind that has been indoctrinated with the European mindset. However, now the flow of energy is through our soul, is through who we are, is because of who we are, is recognizing the essence of our being, and it is clarifying to our minds what divinity really is and what righteousness is. And because of that, we are not only standing in the gap, we have become the filling of the gap. We have repaired the breach. We have entered the land of promise. We have battled with and continue to battle with the giants within. We have made a decision that no longer will that European mindset occupy the throne of Hakupata. We are the throne upon which righteousness sit, and we are the throne that was brought into this earth for the express purpose of being God in this earth. And here we are. We are now closer to being God in this earth than we ever have been since we came in contact with Europeans. And the reason I say closer is because we are, when we become the reality of who we are, it is then when the manifestation of all that we see in righteousness will take place. That manifestation is necessary for the earth to be balanced, for the soil to be cleansed, for the air to be cleansed, for the water to be cleansed. A cleansing effect must take place. And the cleansing effect of what must take place begins now, because it is our overwhelming desire. And with that, I say to you, if you have questions, please make a note of them or text someone with your questions, and continue to listen to the guidance of the ancestors, and have frequent consultation with the ancestors before you make any decisions, so that we are able to do this with a clear heart, a clear mind, as opposed to doing it with a mindset of greed, anger, or anything that is adversarial to the growth of humanity in the earth. With that, I'm done.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Thank you.
Ashe.
Yes.
Asante Sana.
Great energy, guys. Thank you. Great discussion. Okay, be careful out there. So the roads are bad here in the upstate. Be careful, and hope to see everyone again tomorrow evening.
Thank you, Ron. And Ron is exempting Audrey from that. Being careful in the roads, right?
Yeah.
I still have to be careful.
Yeah, in a different way.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, goodbye.